Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another stream from the American Ricci Mahjong League. Things look quiet out there for now, although I expect things will get much louder at this table. I am joined tonight by Nathaniel. How are you doing, Nathaniel?
Doing well, Tucker, and really excited for another set of A1 matches. Just looking at this table, I see two 5-dans, a 6-dan, and a 7-dan for the Tenho ranks. So I imagine this is going to be a pretty spicy one.
Oh wow, I hadn't even realized that. I've gotten so used to all of these people being such incredible players. Like I've stopped looking at the rankings because I think Eric maybe is still like new player on Tenho, which is wild because he's like won everything so far. Um
For sure. Eric won the inaugural beta league, is currently in first place in the league, and is using either an alternate Tenho account or just hasn't played a lot of Tenho, but the rating doesn't always tell everything, and it looks like we're getting right into this match.
yeah, we're gonna have Eitso as the Dora on this first hand, although that's basically all that's going for dealer as far as I can tell.
Yeah, a really kind of rough starting hand. You have a pair of North, but that's not your win, and it is the Haku that's paired up on the left that Steve calls right away. And Steve is fighting for second place or first place overall, definitely in good position. Probably wants to get out to a quick start here.
Yeah, is that hand still two away?
It looks like it, yes.
Yeah, it still needs a fifth shape, with the six mon being the pair. Kind of needs to create another block around either the eight mon or the seven, so which just happened.
Nice. So Ishan done that. And then across to the right, we've got lots of pairs. I'm counting 5. So that's Chito Ishan 10 with 2 Dora. Really nice start.
Yeah, on the fast track to Hanuman there.
Absolutely. And across the table, that looks like your standard Ping Fu type hand. If you can pull together a few good draws. And speaking of good draws, that 7-mon really helps Simon's hand here as dealer.
Yeah, I mean, you could also get Light Pink Yoshi across the table could also get a 3-4-5 Sanshoku, but that hand's just not going to be able to keep up with everyone else. Everyone else, I don't think. Ooh, a decision on the right from Oliver. Just pulled in a third six. So, would you consider changing this to a toy toy at this point?
Absolutely, especially if a door comes out, you can call away. If a 4-mon or 3-so comes out, that would also be that's normally a harder tile to call, so you might heavily consider making the toy call right then. But chooses to go back to Chi Toy, take the wider weight. Feeling like it's going to be a little harder to see those tiles now.
Yeah, especially since two of the Dora Eitso are now in the dealer's hand. Simon has been able to pair them up. So this is a very nice Ishan 10 for Simon, a very valuable Ishan 10.
So I'm looking for the last 2-so or 4-7, but really with the 8-so to the hand of the right, it's never coming out, so you really want the last 2-so. It looks like Tempai on the left.
Yep, drew a third 5-so, now waiting on the 4-mon. Oh, and that's Tempai as well for Simon, taking the Shanpon on the Dora and the 2-so.
So 1 2-so left in the wall.
So on the 2-so, this would only be 3 Han, right?
That's right. Unless you get Ipatsu or Ura.
So the 8-so would give Simon a dealer Mongon to start off here, which would be very nice.
Of course, if you roan somebody with this 3 Han hand, then that's at least 7,700, so that wouldn't be bad either. Ooh. Too safe, so we're still good. Switches to the 3-mon Tonki, set up a Suji trap, discarding the 6-mon on the left.
Oh, there's another 6 overall. Yeah, it looks like Oliver is just bailing now. It started discarding pairs.
I think the same could be said for the other players, except for Steve, of course.
What do you think about that 4-mon pawn there?
Did it move a dealer draw? That was the case.
It did shift draws, yes. So you think that trying to prevent the last draw going to Simon?
Perhaps. I didn't see how many tiles were remaining when that call happened, but for sure the dealer did not get the last draw, so that's a success. And as we enter Ryukyoku, only the 2 players Tenpai, so Simon will get another dealership here. And the starting hand looks not bad. You have a Dora to start with, and we've got all the shapes you need. There's just a couple of weak ones, so hoping to improve those. To the right, we've got a 5, 6, 7 in the Manzu completed already. Also 2 completed shapes in the Sozu, so this is looking great, and a possibility for Itsu even now in the Sozu. Across the table, so 2 completed shapes. This hand's already Ishan 10 with a Dora. And to the left, we've got, well, this one's probably one of the rougher ones here compared to the one across the table. At least you have the chance to incorporate the Dora, maybe a 6, 7, 8 Sanshoku.
Yeah, usually you see like maybe 1 or 2 people whose hands are kind of far and above better than the rest, but everybody but Steve really had a lightning quick hand, and Simon just improved his hand even. We now have, well, I mean, I guess this is still 2 away, but it's a very nice 2 away.
Yeah, Simon has been drawing really well in this first row. Okay, so decision time here. How much you want to gamble for that 3, 4, 5 Sanshoku? Chooses the less wide weight. However, this does allow you to draw the Forso for the Sanshoku chance.
I feel like that was a very nice discard. I would have been just kind of on instinct. I would have tossed away the 5 so, taken the most efficient weight, keeping the perfect Ishan 10. But we see here, I mean, this is why these players are, as was mentioned before, they're all very high ranked at Tenho, and obviously they're all very good players just in general, being an A1.
Yeah, and for the Sanshoku on the left, that's starting to come together now. 2 tiles away from Tenpai, we haven't seen the Chun yet, but there is a very real potential that we could see 6, 7, 8 happening, especially because 3 of the 9 pin are gone. So if you're completing that Yanmen shape in the Pinzu, it's probably going to happen on the 6, except for the fact that we can see all the 6s at the table. So maybe not.
Yeah, and if you're Max across the table, like Pink Yoshi there, like you have to be kind of frustrated. I mean, that is Yoshi's 3rd Tadashi. I mean, and none of those tiles have progressed the hand towards Tenpai.
Absolutely.
They have only been sideway movement so far.
Extremely frustrating. You had an incredibly wide way, especially when you had the 7-mon. But here we go. Tenpai waiting for the 3, 6 pin. Oh, sorry, for the 5, 8 so. The Anko was completed, so not the weight I wanted it to be. Simon, however, calls into Tanyao Tenpai with the Dora.
2 pin, 5 pin, most of which are gone.
Yeah, actually, that's a little odd. All the 2 pin are out, and the 5 pin, 1's cut and 2 inside hand, so 1 left in the wall. You can switch to the Shampon. No real indicator of which one's safer. It does indeed switch. Oh, and now the 3 is drawn. So this is,
yeah, I mean,
Tenpai.
I do wonder about the switching between the weights there. I kind of that there's the 7 pin.
Not going to hit because that was discarded earlier. So Huriten. So earlier the weight was just the 6 pin, and then switched around to something that was theoretically safer.
Oh. And this is also a Furitin weight, waiting on the 2 pin and the 5 pin for Oliver on the right. And
that one's completely dead at this point.
Yeah, just trying to maintain Tenpai.
Now switches to the Dora, but the 3 pin comes out from the Ricci hand. So Tanya Dora 1, 2,900 plus the Homba, and we go again.
And the Ricci stick from last round. So
oh my.
That it doubled in value just from Ricci sticks and Homba, which is very, very nice for Simon. And then this hand already with 5 pairs.
5 pairs? Could have even thought about calling for Honitsu, Toy, Chun, something along those lines.
Yeah, it's weird.
Oh, now calls it. Okay.
Yeah, the 5 mon and the 4 pin are just so hard to call pawn on.
You don't necessarily need to go Honitsu either. We'll see now if it's Toy or Honitsu.
Really thinking about it.
I think this is the right call, just because the 4 pin is a hard tile to find. It's so easy for the other players to use it, whereas you can make sequences out of your Manzu shapes.
Yeah, that 3 mon and 7 mon being on either side of the 5 mon pair does kind of seem to push you towards the Honitsu.
Now, interestingly, Steve on the left has a reputation for not feeding tiles to hands that clearly need them. So I wonder if Steve will push Manzu, and he drops the 8. Steve's hand is actually not that far out. Potential for Sanchoku in 1, 2, 3, or also potential for Itsu in the Manzu.
And that might be why that 8 mon was cut, actually. Get rid of the 8 early.
For sure, before it becomes really dangerous. And now it looks like a clear push for Itsu. Just try to end this before it gets out of hand. And
and that 3 mon draw. Holy cow, that's incredible.
So let's see, 1 7 mon left in the wall. Okay, question time.
This would be Tenpai for Simon.
Does call it, drop it, and gets called. So 6 mon is the weight. And now, if you're Steve, with the East overflow, now you're concerned about Tenpai. We might not see another Manzu exit the hand.
I'm so impressed with Steve's read there to go for the open Itsu. I honestly, with the 3 mon and the 7 mon both filling in Pinchon shapes, I never would have expected to get to Tenpai here.
And Steve's hand's going to be broken because that's the Dora. The Hatsu.
And there's 2 in Oliver's hand and 1 in Yoshi's hand. Oh, well, and now Tenpai waiting on the Dora.
We'll never win this because I can't imagine anyone discards it at this point.
Oh, there's the 6 mon, the Stumo on the
one. So 2,600 all. That's 7,800 total for Simon, plus of course an extra 600 from the home bomb. Simon just racking up the points, and this is great from, I believe, 12th, 13th position, something along those lines. Another great high pie too, again with the 5 pairs.
So because Jonathan is a sit-in, Jonathan's score does not count towards promotion or demotion. That is why Jonathan is at the bottom of the list of A1 right now, even though Jonathan does not have the bottom score. So Simon is currently 1 outside of the cut line, and Max is in the first demotion spot across the table. So they are in direct competition with each other, and we see Simon here really trying to take advantage of these very nice dealer hands to get as much distance away from demotion as possible.
Yeah, Simon tried to run that Horitsu right back, although still keeping flexibility. It looks like with that 4 mon discard, is not willing to drop the Sozu unless you draw the connector Manzu tile. So if you draw, for example, 7 mon here, then we'll be fine with dropping the 4-5. But Steve is pushing for this and might need to discard the Chun, which would now deal into Simon's hand.
Steve has been pushing really hard these last couple of hands. Oh, is it going to come out here? No.
Oh, chooses the Tonki weight.
Tonki.
Yeah, so this is Honitsu North for Steve. North is Yakuhai there. Oh, one will deal in, though.
That is the cheaper deal in, though. If you deal in on the Chun, it's 2 Han. Oh, God, and look at this again!
Simon cannot be stopped. A pair of East, that's double Yakuhai, also 2 away from Tenpai. And
immediately gets it! It's now Ishanten!
I feel like we haven't really gotten the chance to commentate on any of these other hands because Simon just has had such great starts. To the right, we've got chance for 3-5 Sanshoku, but also Itsu in the Pinzu, also just could be normal Pinfu hand. Across the table, there's a lone Dora. Good shapes outside of that with the Yonkan and the Pinzu and the nice Sozu shape. Could just be Tanya as well. To the left, Steve calls the Chun, also just wants to end the hand, maybe even think about Honitsu a little bit.
Yeah, and once again we see Steve opening. This one's a little bit easier for me to just kind of look at and instantly understand. You have 2 completed shapes. You had the Chun. I mean, you're Ishanten now. That's typically a good place to start. Now Tenpai waiting on the 8-so, but we also have Tenpai for Simon waiting on the 7-pin.
Oh, there's a second 7-pin.
It's paired up.
Yeah, that's a lot of pairs for LPY. Wonder if he'll try to make Tanya or Toy Toy or something along those lines. Well, it looks like Tanya on the right for Oliver. Ishanten.
I mean, all of those 8-so are being used by Max across the table, by Light Pink Yoshi. Ooh, Simon leaving Tempai.
Oh, still he draws the 7. That hurts. And it makes sense to some degree. The 9-8 is a very weak shape, and the 2-2, 3-3, 3-4, 4 has a lot of acceptance. You can also make Toy Toy out of that as well. So it's a very aggressive play, maybe a bit greedy too.
So we have a switch to a 6-so weight for Steve on the left. Oh, a con! That has revealed the Chun as Dora, so Steve now has a Mongon.
Can switch up the weight once again if he wants the Champong weight. Does not, chooses the 6-so instead. And the 4th Chun comes out. Safe though.
Oh, well, now the 6-so also gives Itsu. So this is now Chun, Dora 3 plus Itsu. That doesn't actually raise the value of the hand.
You just need to see another con, huh?
Oh, but the 6. Okay.
Right. Yeah. It looks like LPY recognizing danger here. The 7-so had just come out and passed, so plays that instead. And yet this looks like a fold at this point.
Oh, no. It's going to have to come out of Simon's hand, though, if Simon wants to keep Tempai. Doesn't have to, though. I mean, you could bail. And does.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow. Would you see would you make the same decision here that Simon just made?
I think I would recognize that 6-so is dangerous. I'm not sure I would have the ability to fold my own Tempai. Oh, let's take a look at the weight. It was 1-4, and we see all the 1s are out, so the weight actually isn't amazing.
It was 3-so 4-mon, wasn't it?
Oh, I'd be so greedy. I would call this for sure.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Oh, and it's a double roan.
It turned into the double roan. Only 1,000 into Oliver, though. And since Oliver was the close. Oh, no, that's Homba. So that 1,200 extra was the Homba for Oliver, and then obviously the Mongon for Steve on the left.
Yeah, this is ideal for Steve, who, had been calling repeatedly to try to prevent Simon from being able to run away with this. And in fact, now hits him directly with a Mongon, tightens the scores up significantly. And we move to East 2. It will be Oliver's dealership. Simon right now with a pretty good hand, though. Again, with nice shapes for Pinfu, we move over to Oliver's perspective, who has now called the Tumon, aiming for Tainao Dora 1, is Ishanten for that hand. To the right, we've got what looks like your standard Tainao Pinfu type shapes. Now you've got too many pairs, but you can still make Pinfu out of this. You've got a Dora as well. Across the table, that just doesn't look very good.
Yeah, really lackluster shapes for Steve, although now has 4 whole pairs.
So that's an option if you can't make a normal hand. Pairs is always a good backup plan.
Oh, wow. That draw for Simon on the left.
Chance for Itsu now.
No Norths have been discarded yet. One just came into Steve's hand.
Yeah, seems to be a good wait for Steve. And Oliver, still waiting to find Tempai, has discarded the last 4 draws. Reasonable tile acceptance here.
Simon just keeps pulling in the right tiles, and we have Tempai for Oliver now, waiting on the 4-so and the 7-so, and then a Ricci from Yoshi, waiting on the 6-mon and the 9-mon.
Yeah, Ricci, Pinfu, Dora, waiting 6-9, of course, as you said. Simon probably really wants to win this Itsu, but so far has drawn Monzu, and Monzu looks relatively safe against this table. Well, there's the 3rd North. This is Tempai.
Waiting on the 147. Yeah, this is a very chaseable Tempai. Your 3-sided weight. Oh, but just tossed the Ricci stick right over.
So Ricci Sumo Pinfu Dora no Ura, so not as expensive as it could have been, but still, I'm sure Max is very happy with that win and will take the dealership after doing so. It looks like this hand could use some improvements. It has some blocks, it has some good floaters, but needs more tiles connected. One nice draw might be the door, because you've got that floating one. So to the right, we've got lots of good shapes in the Manzu. Could have thought about 678 Sanshoku, but you already have your blocks pretty much set. So instead, taking the, what is this, Yanshan 10 for Pinfu. Across the table, we've got, oh, this looks like Itsu in the Sosu. Simon giving another chance at this. And perhaps if you don't get that, you can aim for just Pinfu with the door as well. And to the left, there's an Anko of the 2-pin, pair of 3-pin as well. This hand's pretty close to Tenpai as well, 2 away. I'm starting to draw more pairs.
Steve on the right just made an interesting decision. Drew the 1-mon and discarded the 8-9 Pinchon. Would have had to discard probably the 3-pin and 4-pin to go for the Itsu in Mon, and actually would have been Tenpai now waiting on the 7-mon. But because that was a bad wait, elected not to, and now has the Pinfu waiting on 2-pin and 5-pin, calling Ricci.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to make that call whether to take your nice shapes and aim for what should be a faster Tenpai with Pinfu, or to aim for a little bit of greed with the Itsu. I guess we'll have to wait and see if the 7-mon comes out, if particularly on a draw, if Steve gets punished. We're taking the efficient route.
Do you think Oliver is going to push on the left?
Let's see here. This is Ishanten. You don't really want to be dealing into Steve here. Even though Steve dropped the Dora for reach, there are probably ways to Mawashi this. Right, you could drop the 8-pin, call the 7-so, or draw the 7-so in your Tenpai again. And so I think Oliver will probably hang around. Not full bail, but also just play kind of cautiously. The hand is right now is just Tanyao.
I think that's a good read, as it does look like that's what Oliver is doing. Dropped 9988, has maintained Ishan 10. Oh, did Simon just enter Tenpai?
That is the case. 3-6-mon waiting with just Tanyao.
Is Simon willing to discard this 5-so? Would you be willing to discard this 5-so?
I think so. It's hard to imagine. I guess it isn't that hard to imagine waiting on the 5, but since the 2 came out and the 2 is Dora, it's probably not anything on the lower end of the Sosu. So it could be the 5-8 wait, but... And we also hadn't seen early upper Sozu discards, but we do see 3 of those 9s now. So it's a little hard to use.
Oh, the 3-mon comes out into Simon's hand.
It's just 1,000 points, but you get the Ricci stick, and you hit your direct competitor. So this is a pretty good result for Simon. Steve's dealership. This hand looks like it's 2 tiles away from Tenpai, but probably not a really good weight unless you end up switching the 1-2 Penchon for something else. And drawing this 4-so might be a good start for that. You do have a Dora 6-mon in hand, but 2 of the Dora 6-mon are actually to the hand on the right, which is Simon, who might try to aim for something really fast, like a Tanyao with those 2 Dora. Across the table, we've got, is that 4 3-mon?
Yes, it is. That is, but with the 2-mon there, it's really more like a triplet of 3-mon and then a 2-3 Yanmen.
Yeah, I think that's a much better way of looking at that, as then the hand would be 2 tiles away from Tenpai for just Ricci only, but when you're in 4th place like this, even a small hand with the potential of becoming bigger with Sumo, Ipatsu, Ura, anything like that, you'll take those. And then to the left, Max is aiming for, looks like Ishanten? No, Yanshanten. No, it is Ishanten for just Ricci, yeah. But it's not going to be amazing. And now you can go headless here.
I wonder... would you have made the same decision as Max on the left? I would have kept the 4-so and tossed the 9-pin. And here, when you draw the 6-so, you could discard another tile away from that kind of very extended Kanchan going on.
Yeah, I think I would have made the same play as you. However, drawing the 6 isn't a huge backfire here, as now you have a Yankan and a Nomaton shape. And they're both reasonable if you're not going to have Yanmen.
Yeah, especially without a pair currently, then
Exactly.
if you draw into the Ryankan, then the 3/6 is a perfectly fine way.
We see a call to the right. It's Simon who's aiming for that Tanya as expected with the 2 Dora. Is Ishan 10 right now? Oh, there's a Khan. Well, I guess it makes sense because Oliver had found a bunch of pairs. Is Ishan 10 wants to increase the value.
The 2 Peen is the new Dora, which doesn't benefit anybody.
Oh, interesting decision here. The 2 Mon is such a great trap with all the 3 Mon visible.
But yes, and also it allows you to be Tanyao. So you could open for before with the 1 Peen, you either needed to go Toy Toy or keep your hand closed. Oh, but there's Tenpai for Steve calling Ricci, and that's going to be a Suji trap on the 1 Mon as well as the Dora 6 Mon.
Yeah, drew the second Dora there, declare the Ricci. Of course, the unfortunate part is the Suji trap part of it is dead. We see the 1 Mon has already been discarded. Same with the 6 Mon we can see in the hand to the right. That's Tenpai across the table, though. If you can keep pushing, and it looks like Oliver is willing to do so.
There's 1 2 Mon in the wall still, it looks like, and 1 6 Peen left in the wall.
So actually, Oliver has the better chances here.
Oh, and 5 Peen is the winning tile for Simon.
Okay, so Simon threw 4 Mon, but managed to stay in Tenpai. Can now switch. Breaks it at the very end. We didn't comment on Max actually finding Tenpai drawing the 3rd 7 pin, but also was part of that group that ended up picking up 1,000 points at Yukioku. And the scores, once again, get a little bit tighter as Simon had to pay 1,000 to all the other players. So...
And actually didn't have to. The 5 Peen was safe. The only reason it was red is because it was his winning tile.
Yeah, but I think at that time the Pinzu were kind of shaky. I don't think Steve had really dropped much in terms of Pinzu, so probably was just playing a little bit safe there. And speaking of Steve, this is very fast. Already Ishan 10, of course, you'd love to get the 7 pin first, but...
Ooh, the 5 Peen is technically more efficient than the 8 Peen and the 9 Peen, but yeah, it's so hard to keep that being Ishan 10.
Yeah, you'd have to go back a step in order to keep that 5. And you've already sort of got a floater in the 4 Mon. You could have chosen to drop the 4 Mon in favor of the 5 pin if you thought that was a better floater, but instead chooses to stick with this route. LPY with the north call that is Yakuhai there. Has 2 Dora, so also aiming to go very fast, and is Ishan 10.
Oh, and there's the extra 4 Mon you were talking about. Do the 8 Peen and 9 Peen get discarded now?
They do, although it's still a little bit awkward because it's sort of like a Shampon shape. The 1, 2, 3 uses up one of the 3 bonds, so you're left with a 3, a 3, a 4, and a 4.
And so I guess you can't call Chi into Tenpai with that shape, can you?
Right. You could call Chi and take a very wide Ishan 10, headless Ishan 10. So you can call Chi here for Tenpai with the 2, so...
The 1 so and the 4 so now deal into Max on the left, who has 2 Dora along with that north.
Yeah, so 2 players Tenpai, and the more expensive hand is on the left, of course. As mentioned, 2 Dora tends to do that. Oh, Khan!
Oh, Khan! The 3 Peen, the new Dora, which only benefits Oliver across the table.
Well, now that you draw the second one, it really benefits you. So now Oliver has a lot of incentive to... Oh, well, forget that incentive. Steve pulls it out, drawing the last 3 Mon.
And takes first!
Yeah, that actually is enough to do it, and so... Still in East 4, but has a small lead. It has a door to start with, and reasonable shapes. probably want to get rid of the 1-2 penchant in the Sozu in favor of something else, but for now it's a block, so you'll take it. To the right, we've got what looks like Tanyao shapes, maybe Pinfu with good draws, or 678 Sancho with amazing draws. Across the table, that's a fast Haku call, and it might just be Haku with a Dora when it comes down to it. And to the left, we've got what looks like your standard Pinfu shapes with 3-4-5 Sanchoku potential.
It's going to be really hard for Oliver to incorporate that Dora unless he draws another one. We see that there are already 3 7-mon gone. One's a Dora indicator tile, one is in Simon's call, and then one is in Steve's hand.
It would actually be pretty ideal to draw another Dora, not just for the value, but it helps the shapes out a decent amount as well. To the right, we saw Simon make the call of the 7-mon, now grabs Tempai, waiting 3-6 pin, a very fast Tanyao Dora 1. And 2,000 plus 600 from Homba is not a bad pickup, would bring you right back into first place.
Yeah, no matter who you hit, which is pretty advantageous.
Had the opportunity to switch to the 3-6 so wait, but preferred the Nobetam. And on the left, LPY is getting very close to Tempai. Ishan 10 right now. Very wide Ishan 10 right now with that 2-pin pickup.
What do you do if you're Simon? You just draw the 7-pin. What do you do with that?
Yeah, I thought about it and just threw it back.
Do you see the 3-pin, 6-pin as a better weight than the 4-7?
I think I like the 4-7 only slightly, and this may just be me with a little bit of bias, but I just dropped an 8-pin and there was another one out. So I feel like 7's a little harder to use, but
and now we have a huge Ricci from Max. This is Tanyao, Pinfu, Ricci. You have a chance at 3-4-5 Sanshoku and gets the Apatsu! Ricci, Apatsu, Sumo. Pinfu, Sanshoku.
That's a Hanemon. And well, we have a new leader.
And just rocketing out in front. And Max needs that so bad. Max in the top demotion spot currently. But if you're able to steal a first out of this 3rd out of 4 games here, that would be huge for you. That would instantly launch you almost to ±0.
Yeah, this is what an incredible hand for Max, who's now at 40k. So you've got about 10,000 point buffer, well, 11.5 between you and second place. And second place is our dealer, actually Simon, who has got a good starting hand, has a chance at 2-3-4 Sanshoku. Could just make a normal hand as well. We'll jump to the call. Steve grabbed the Hatsu and looks to have a very just fast hand.
Yeah, well, Steve's call rate is 35.0, but there's a con. Now the 7-pin is more Dora, which does help Steve.
Yeah,
but like
chooses to keep the less efficient weight because the 7 became Dora.
The Steve's call rate is not incredibly high, but we've seen Steve open it's felt like every single hand so far.
Yeah, I wonder if it has to do with the players at this table. I've heard rumors that Max also likes to open up a bit more than your average player, although I don't know. It looks like the call rate is 36%, so just a little bit ahead of Steve. It doesn't seem to be super indicative, as we see Tempai on the left for Steve, 5-8 weight for just the Haku with a bunch of Fu.
Yeah, the keeping with having the Hatsu, just wanting to get over 30k, just take whatever points you can, and that's gonna deal in.
Hatsunomi 1300.
It's not quite enough though.
Yeah, it doesn't even get you over 30k, so we'll move to South 2. At least it puts you in second, albeit a very tenuous second place. Is Oliver's dealership, and now it's Oliver who really needs to win the big hand. And this is your chance as dealer. Does not have the Dora, does not have amazing shapes, but now you've paired up the South. You can call and try to get a dealer repeat. To the right, that's 4-9 pin. So we might see another con anytime sometime in the near future. The rest of the shapes are kind of awkward, except in the So suit, and even those aren't amazing. Across the table, also awkward shapes. It doesn't look like anybody here has really amazing blocks, except for Simon on the left, who's got a pretty clear path to Tanyao, potential Ipeko as well.
I actually get pretty excited whenever I see a group of fantastic players like this with not the best shapes, because I feel like that means I'm going to get to see how they construct their hands kind of meticulously to get more and more value out of them. You know your hand's slow, so you try and get as much value as you possibly can out of it since you're not going to make it fast anyway. Although Oliver getting the Souths doesn't have to do that.
Yeah, and to the left, Simon grabbed a great 3-pin draw as Ishan 10 now for that Tanya hand.
And that 3-pin, which Max just made the new Dora, because that 9-pin con that you talked about happened, and the 3-pin are in Simon's hand, although we do see an extra 3-pin in Steve's hand across the table.
Yeah, Max had found an amazing draw of the 7, so is now Ishan 10, so it made sense to call the con at that point. You can, for example, con into Tempai. Also, it's just less efficient to hang on to the extra 9. So if you're going to con, you might as well do it then, unless you have dreams about Rinchan. But
Oliver Tempai. Also Ishan 10. Oh yes, waiting on the 4-so and the 7-so.
Yes, just Ricci only, but you have 2 door indicators now, so lots of chance at Uda. And if you can find an 8-pin as one of the indicators, that would be a Mongon. But
yeah, this could be 60 Fu or 70 Fu. On a Ron, this is going to be 70 Fu, isn't it? Yeah, that's a Mongon.
Yeah. Found 1 Uda, and that was all it took.
And that shows where often you can kind of forget about Fu, and in fact, Ricci Book 1 kind of suggests, like, to not worry about Fu all that much. However, that's one of those cases where if you're able to get a con of a terminal or honor tile, especially closed, it can make a pretty massive effect on a pretty massive impact on your value. As we saw there, that 3 Han became a Mongon for Max because of the extreme amount of Fu, the 32 Fu you get from the 9-pin con.
Absolutely, and I do want to comment on this dealer hand. Light Pink Yoshi aiming for just a very fast tune. And I did want to also note that in that the deal in, I believe, was Simon, who had found Tempai with that amazing Tanyao Dora 3 hand, and just unfortunately the widest weight dealt in. So it was a bit unlucky for Simon. As we see Tempai now for Max, waiting on 4-7, so...
Oh, okay. Steve holding on to the 7-so, although you imagine that might come out, although we have a Ricci across the table from Simon.
Oh no, well this looks like Chinitsu for Steve, and this certainly has value worth pushing. Instead, starts with the 3 Mon. Not willing to fight here. At least not just yet.
And neither is Max. Max is in a pretty far away first. The last thing you want to do is deal in. So Max just getting rid of the safest tile, the Nakatsuji 6-so.
Had drawn the door, now finds Tempai again, waiting on the last 2-pin. And that's Genbutsu to the Ricci.
Ooh, do you discard the 6-mon? No. The 1-pin looks a lot better. It's Suji.
This could be very interesting to watch Max dance around this hand. The 2-pin wait is very awkward because there's only 1 remaining, so you're probably throwing a lot of dangerous tiles if you try to maintain Tempai there. Speaking of Tempai, that's a call on the left as Oliver grabs a 5-8 wait for Tanyao only.
Oh, this 4-pin deals into Max!
Max found Tempai again.
Max found Tempai again, waiting on the 4-pin and gets it.
And if the other side came out, the 7-pin, that would have dealt into Simon.
So there's just Oliver really just doomed. Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
And that was really quite interesting from Max, throwing away Tempai on the 2-pin wait, but choosing to accept Tempai when it was the 4-pin wait, as that was probably more prevalent in the wall, and did manage to find the win. Also has a great starting hand here. is this 2 away from Tenpai for Pif Dora, potential Sanshoku as well. To the right, we've got pretty normal hands, chance at Itsu in Manzu. And the blocks across the table are good as well. You've got the Haku Call. And so we're just aiming for a very fast 1,000 point hand. Yamen are the shapes. So likely to see a 1-mon call and then wait for 7. Or just draw it yourself. That works too. There are 5 4s and 7s left in the wall as far as the Manzu are concerned. And of course, the hand to the left, not very close to Tenpai, 4-7, probably have to come out. In fact, comes out right now. So Simon with a quick 1,000 point hand grabs an extra 300 from the Honba. Just knocks Oliver a little bit lower as we move to South 4.
Well, and this is huge for Steve. Like the 500 points to get you over 30K make a 5,000 point improvement since it changes your UMA. And on the other hand, Max equally is going to want to keep Steve underneath 30K.
Well, Steve with a good chance at making that here. It looks like you can make Tanyao or Pinfu or just a Ricci here. The pair of 4 pins can also allow you to accept Dora. However, we see 2 of the 3 pin Dora is on the right in Simon's hand. And there's actually a few pairs now, but this is looking more like Tanyao. Across the table, it is Oliver who makes the quick tune call, and this is interesting because 1,000 points is not going to be enough. Now, if you can grab a Dora, make that 2,000, and it's still not enough if you directly hit Simon, so might just aim for K10 here, might even pass up Rome.
I wonder what the easiest way. I guess you could shift towards a Sanshoku if you got really lucky.
Yeah, there's a path that you draw the 2-mon, then you draw the 1-mon, and you're kind of there. But it's Steve who does find that fast Tenpai. Ricci, Pinfu would have Tanyao as well on the 4-mon. It's a 1-4 weight.
Yeah, and this is exactly what Steve needed for sure. Well, now, if Oliver were able to find a Dora and hit Simon directly, that would be enough with the Ricci stick, wouldn't it?
It would, and the problem is finding that Dora, as that's your weight right now.
The only thing that might help you is that the 3-pin is Suji to Steve, although rarely do people trust Dora Suji. And it's also the only pair in Simon's hand, so...
Yeah, we see Simon choosing the 6-7-mon over the... You can call this for Tenpai. And this is a 5-8 so weight for Simon for Tanyao Dora 2.
And of the 5-8 so, 4 are still in the wall, as we see 2 5 so, 1 each in Max and Steve's hand, and 2 8 so in Oliver's hand. So there are so many tiles for Simon still to collect here.
Yeah, 4v4 as far as Simon's weight versus Steve's, although it looks like Simon gave it up on the 2 so draw.
Yeah, the 2 so does not look good against this Ricci here. The 2-pin. A Tonki weight now for Oliver. Drew in another 8 so.
And then grabs the 3. That is... I think with a sumo, you wouldn't have enough to overtake, but it hurts a little bit. I mean, the 3, now you have a little bit more value. Chundor 2 would be enough on anybody, I believe. We end up in Ryukyoku, and Oliver does grab the 1,500 points, which is very important, because that's a 300 swing between Oliver and Simon. Sorry, 3,000 point swing. And this is very close for 3rd and 4th place right now. Steve does not get the Ricci stick back, but does grab a net gain of 500 points, putting him at exactly 30,000 points.
And so if you're Steve here, you really want to win this hand again, because if you don't, if someone else deals into a wrong, well, fine, whatever. But if someone sumos, you're back underneath 30K, and that hard work you did to get that beautiful Tenpai last round just goes to waste.
Yeah, the person who Oh no, dropping the tune first and then drawing two immediately afterwards always is so painful. But that is mahjong sometimes. The person who's very incentivized to uh, aim for Tsumo or aim directly at Steve would be Max, who would benefit from an extra 5 UMA if you can get Steve below 30,000 as well as the other players. And right now, Max with a lot of Sozu pairs. I'm counting 4 of them, as well as a pair of Pinzu. So this is Chitoi Ishan 10 with a pair of Dora.
Yeah, I do wonder. The problem is there's not a great path to opening this hand, because if you start opening on So tiles, you have to throw away so many. You have to throw away that beautiful 2-2-3 shape.
Yeah, we see also Chitoi Ishan 10 across the table with Oliver. This hand can also turn into a normal one.
Oh,
Now
and
you
that
kind of have
14
to make
held.
that decision. Nope, Chitoi still looking like the route.
Chitoi is enough with the Homba and the Ricci stick, even if it's Chitoi only. That would be fine for the win for Oliver. Oh, the 5-peen now.
Yeah, and now it's also Max who has a chance at making a normal hand. It's technically Ishan 10 for Ipeco. And we haven't looked at the hand to the right at all, but that's progressing pretty nicely. That one also has Ipeco chance, and this is Tempai for the 8-pin.
That's a confirmed Ipeco.
Takes the Dama because just wants to maximize winning chances. Right now, the pond does not make it look like Pinzu is safe, so wants it to sort of flow out naturally from someone's hand. Now, Steve with that 7-mon call, probably aiming for Tempai here, as there just doesn't seem to be a clear path for Yaku. Well, now you can switch to Tanya, perhaps.
And is heading that way.
Oliver is going to have a rough time finding Tempai. You need one more pair. Oh, well, that's another pair found for Max, who is Tempai now on the 4-pin. Oh, but there's the 8.
But the 1-so is going to come out first.
So there's a chance.
Oh, this would be a pretty catastrophic deal. And oh no, Max is going to have to deal that. Oh, but that's fine for Max.
Yeah, Max is pretty happy with this result. It's a very cheap way to end the dealership. Of course, you would have liked to knock Steve below 30,000, but this ends the game with you in first place, and you can't feel too bad about that. Plus 34.3 for Steve. For Max, and we see the scores just got updated. Now Max only down to -9 in the standings.
And the +5 not enough to help Steve overtake Eric in first, but it's a good start. You're now just as far away from Eric as you are ahead of Jeremy. So that's a good position to be in at the end of week 4 here, although we do have one more game at this table. And then Simon, of course, taking the -12.6 hit, drops into that first demotion spot that Max just left. And then Oliver with the -26.7, unfortunately, falls quite a bit.
Yeah, Simon now almost actually with the same number of points that Max had previously. And so we'll have a little bit of work to do to climb out of that. But we have another game in this session. There's also 2 sessions after this. So definitely has opportunity to do so. And for Oliver had been kind of on a tear to make it up to the positives. And with another 4th, still finds himself at plus 39.4. So definitely not incredibly worried about falling into the demotion range just yet. But unfortunately, it does move you kind of out of position for that hunt for first place. Although you can easily pick up 100 points in a single session for Hanchan. We saw Oliver do that before. Over 100 points, I believe.
Yeah,
like 130.
We've seen it happen. We've seen plus hundreds in one match happen a couple times this season. It's pretty wild.
Yeah,
and actually, there's been a lot of conversation in the chat about the 6th session. So the first 5 sessions are round robin, where everybody plays everybody. But that 6th session is going to be a positional based round. And Could we switch over to that on the screen just to give everybody an idea of what's being talked about? So the way that sixth session is going to work is based on your position. That will determine who you play against in the sixth session. So yes, here we go. It's now we have it. So the first group is going to be first, fourth, fifth, and eighth. So those four people will play against each other in the sixth session for the final four Hanchan to determine where everybody ends up. And the idea here, the philosophy behind how everything was placed, everybody in the top half is at those first two tables. So you have first, fourth, fifth, and eighth at the first table, second, third, sixth, and seventh at the second table. The bottom half of the standings ends up at the third and fourth tables. So ninth, 12th, 13th, and 16th, 10th, 11th, 14th, 15th. The philosophy behind the decisions here is that the people who are competing for the top are all going to be facing each other. This is a little bit, the top half is going to be slightly less interesting in A1 than it's going to be in other divisions, as, for example, A2, where Nathaniel and I are. That top half in A2 is going to be determined promotions. Here, of course, it's going to be exciting seeing who gets league champion for this session, but there's only one spot to take that. So if you're in 7th and 8th, you're not fighting for that quite as much. You're really just fighting to keep yourself from falling. Whereas in the bottom half, all 8 of those people are going to be competing with each other to stay out of demotion range. And with all of our scores being so tight in A1, pretty much anybody is going to have a chance to climb out of that hole. Unfortunately, June is quite a bit behind, but other than that, if you're directly facing the people who you're trying to overtake, a 30-point difference is nothing.
Absolutely. And it's quite interesting, actually. In some of the other divisions, this sort of split between the top half and the bottom half. The top half, the results probably won't affect the results of the bottom half. But with how tightly contested A1 has been, say you're in 8th place and you're facing that top-ranked opponent, who right now is Eric, and you get a couple bad fourths, you could theoretically drop down into the demotion zone, which is a bit unusual and actually a little bit surprising for how this sort of snaked sixth session would work out. But really, it's just due to how completely even this A1 division has been throughout 4 sessions so far.
Yeah, and well, for that same reason, while obviously Eric, who has been at the top of the ARML since it started, while Eric is obviously very, very good, since, as you said, A1 is so tight, while 8th could very well just get massacred in that last round, everybody's pretty close to each other here. In skill level, I mean. So you could definitely still see 8th, even if they did take a little bit of a loss facing other players, still be fine because everybody in A1 is so skilled, has so much Mahjong competency that if you know the one thing you need to do is not drop a ton of points, then you might not play to win as much and more play not to lose. And if someone in A1 is playing not to lose, I imagine they're going to be pretty successful.
Yeah, you'd suspect so, although a lot depends on the incentives. If perhaps at your table you're sitting with somebody who has a lot of incentive to fight, and they're really fighting to win because they've gotten close to that first place slot, and you're playing not to lose, well, there's a chance for that player who's aiming to win to just go on a rampage and take control of the game, and you might end up with a bad score, even if you're not necessarily dealing in. Just getting sumo down and maybe getting unlucky once could be enough to leave you with a bad result. So I suspect we won't necessarily see full defensive play, even if the incentives aren't there to completely just end the game. But
Yeah, well, I'm for these players, when I say like defensive play, I don't mean like my full fold defense.
mhm.
I mean more Korax push your one hand hands against Tempais when you don't have all the safe tiles because your 1,000 point hand ends the other hand kind of defense.
Yeah, perhaps not, when you have the opportunity to wait a little bit for a little bit more value versus taking a call and ending the hand earlier. Perhaps you choose to just speed versus value, aim for a little bit of a faster approach. But yeah,
And
I'm really excited to see what that will end up looking like once we get into that final session.
yeah, the strategy that we're going to see people implementing in the fifth and sixth sessions is going to be incredibly fascinating. And not having played a lot of league or tournament mahjong myself before, I really don't know what that strategy should look like.
A bit of
But
a preview of that probably next week as we enter session 5. That is the last session for a lot of the B2 players who will not play in session 6 unless they find themselves in a playoff. So definitely watch the B2 games next week. They're going to be very exciting, I'm sure, as people fight for their positions. And it looks
oh,
like we're right into the game game number 4. So this is
we
the
we
last game of the A1 for the session.
we talked about Max's. I'm sorry, I was so tickled by Max's North call that I was jumping over you there. But we were kind of joking about how Max has a reputation for calling a lot of hands in league play, and we see this Atazuke. Well, I guess it could be Toy Toy still, so not necessarily Atazuke, but Max taking the North Pawn early, expecting either to get all triplets or to get the East.
Yeah, the way he's played this very much makes it look like a toy toy push. You're dropping the 3-2-1 set, dropping the 8 instead of hanging on to it and maybe backing your way into Tempai there. It's going to be so tricky if he manages to get Tempai on a Shampoo weight with a 7 pin in one of the Sozu pairs, because no one is going to ever expect that the 7 pin is the winning tile.
Yeah, the 7 pin is going to be absolutely deadly. Although, if Simon can pull one or two more shapes in here, this is, oh wow, what a draw.
5 Mon is pretty great there. You can switch to Tanya and maybe even end up with Ipeco too. This is Ishan 10. You're just missing a pair.
Oh, and there's the Tempa you were talking about for Max, waiting on the 7 pin and the 8 so.
So, Steve, do you want to drop this 6 so? Instead drops the 2. It did come out of Oliver's hand, interestingly enough, who was fighting for Tempai. Actually got there, and Oliver just does not care about this, what looks to be Honitsu hand.
Yeah, there are no Sozu in Max's discard pile. That's the 4-so coming out, though. Steve obviously not as worried about it as he is of Oliver's Ricci.
My goodness, this is just pure aggression from Oliver, and this is just Ricci only.
Yeah, waiting on the 5-so and the 8-so. Korak said Furiton, but I don't know who Korak was saying was Furiton. It's not Oliver. Oliver's fine, because that 5-so came out of Steve's hand. And there's the Sumo on the 7.
So we do get the Toy Toy and the East. That will be 5,200 total, plus the Ricci stick. And Max with a good start. Yeah, we were focusing so much on the other players, we weren't even looking at Steve's hand. All right, we move into East 2. Max, after that win grabs the dealership, has a reasonably good starting hand. You've got all the shapes. Got 5 blocks, and now a slight improvement on one of them. And one of your shapes can accept the Dora 7 Mon. But look at the right. This is Tempa already. What?
Oh my god, wait. A Tonki on the 7 Mon.
That's a Dora Tonki for Tanyao Dora 2.
Oh boy. Would you Dama here?
I would. It's not like likely that you would see a 7 Mon this early, but there's reasonable chances that you could draw an improvement. Oh, and here we go. 1-4 2 weight. I think you would prefer to have drawn something like the 8 Mon or 6 Mon, but this works too.
Yeah, I will, and this is fine because you've added Pinfu. If you win on the 1 peen or 4 peen, you've added Pinfu, which replaces the Dora. So a win on the 4 peen would be Ricci, Pinfu, Tanyao, which would be the same value on a Ron as it would be on the 7 Mon. So, well, I guess the 7 Mon Ron would have been 40 Fu, but that's
Yeah.
eh. I'll pretend that that's not real. Same
Yeah,
as a
you're also losing
same
the
as a
second
Steam.
Dora, but it actually is kind of interesting. I could have seen Oliver just throwing it back, and then when you draw the 6th Mon, then declaring reach.
I mean, I don't know. I can't pass up a shape like this. Like a 1-2-4 weight, that's too good.
Yeah, it is very pretty. And you Tsumo the 4, you find an Ura, and you're very happy.
Although we have good hands still. I mean, Simon on the left is Ishanten.
Yeah, there's a world where that could work its way into Sanshoku, and across the table, this is now Ishanten if you choose to push it. Does not. So we'll be playing safe from Steve's perspective. And for LPY, well, if you do push, you're probably dealing in. So looks like Max is playing safe anyway.
Although we've seen a whole lot of Mawashi just in A1 in general, and this table I feel like has been doing a very good job of it. So if Max finds Tempai while dancing around here, I wouldn't be surprised if the 2 peen then came out at the very end.
The problem is we don't see any lower Pinsu, but if you draw the 4, so you might just feel it's worth pushing. You are a dealer, you do have a Dora, reach Pinfu Dora, it's not bad. Oh, and there goes a 7 Mon, so 2 Dora have been discarded, and you're feeling this hand can't be that expensive. Maybe it's worth pushing.
Oh, that was an interesting decision. Okay, I'm just like trying to make sure that I'm reading Simon's hand correctly on the left. That wasn't quite Tempai that Simon just discarded.
Right.
Discarded the safe Dora.
Still has.
He's still
Yeah.
Ishanten though.
We've seen no Pinzu exit Steve's hand, and that was the suit that Oliver was waiting for. And so you're feeling a little bit sad, actually, that you only picked up a net of 2,000 points when you could have had Sumo on the 7 Mon, but you never know that that's going to happen, of course.
Well, and the 1-2-4 weight was so good. Even with a couple of 1 peen already out, that's still better than a full Rionman weight. So
Steve did a very good job of hanging on to all those tiles. And now Oliver gets another chance. You have the blocks. You have a Dora. So just fill in a couple Kanchan and you're very happy. To the right, we've got Steve, who's got a chance at 7, 8, 9, or even 6, 7, 8 Sanshoku. You have a pair of East as well.
Well, this could even be Chanta.
Yeah, interesting on the 6 Mon discard there. Well, you have Ipeco now with 2 Dora. Really interesting to see what you cut here.
I feel like since I have 2 Dora now, yeah. It seemed like Steve maybe was, like, with that 6 Mon discard, kind of using the Chanta as a way to get more value. But with having 2 Dora and having the Easts, I feel like we're going to see, and we do, Steve making a push towards, yeah.
So it could still be Chanta, could be a number of things here. It's not going to be Ipeco, but we know it's going to be East with 2 Dora. And across the table, we've got what looks like your normal shapes, just a couple tiles out from Tempai. Ishanten now, actually. And then to the left, we've got Tanyao, but no value there. Okay, so it doesn't grab the 2 Dora because you've confirmed your Chanta Sanshoku.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Chanta Sanshoku Dora's Mangan. Oh, that's 7 deals in. Yeah, it's so hard to tell that you're Tempai on that tile, but I guess once you drop the Dora, that's your first sign, huh?
That should usually be pretty scary, especially in this division. I think I would be really interested to keep stats on how often Dora gets dropped. And I feel like if you kind of kept track of that for each of the pools, you would see a correlation that like in A1 it's dropped to the least, and then as you go further away from A1, it's more and more likely that you might see Dora get dropped. That's been something that I've definitely noticed about these tables, that they are very hesitant to discard Dora or anything near Dora, really.
Yeah, there's always a chance to draw Dora if you've got the connecting tile and to be able to use it in your hand. Well, Steve with 2 quick calls, double east, chance at Toy Toy as well. Oh. I want to see the world where you get Honroto or Honitsu or really anything like that. But the problem is you're probably just getting Tenpai before then. So
yeah, especially with the 9-pin. The only way I think to end up at Honroto is if you drew the 9-mon and the Hatsu before you were able to call the 9-pin or the 5-mon.
In this world, though, it looks like it's just going to be possibly Toy Toy. If you draw a Dora tile you'd like to connect to it. To the right, we've got Tanyao type shapes. Oh, there's a Dora draw. So this is 1 tile away from Tenpai. You drop the 2-4 and wait in that overlapping Yanmen shape in the Sozu. Across the table.
Keeping the 4, well, go ahead. I'm just kind of thinking about the Sanshoku possibility.
Yeah, it's not bad to think about that. I mean, if you draw a 5, I could definitely see the switch. Instead, draws another Dora, and so cancel that plan. We've got a little bit more value here with Tanyao Dora 2. To across the table, we also have Tanyao type shapes. Could just be Pinfu. Could be pairs, even not after that 7, so discard. To the left, it's Oliver, who's probably got the worst shapes at the table. Steve finds Tenpai. Unfortunately, not Toy Toy Tenpai, so this would just be double east with a ton of Fu. And will this...
Oh, this 7-mon would be a double Ron.
Oh, there's a con! 3-pin revealed to be Dora, only 1 in the hand on the left. And with that 8-mon discard, the 7 might follow from Oliver. Across the table, it's just Tanyao.
Oh, no. Okay, so just the single Ron, only dealt into max there. Definitely the best result for sure. Oliver. That 7-mon would dealt into both Steve and Max.
Oh my, we Steve with a great hand, but is no longer the dealer, so won't get maximum points for this, but does have a chance at Pinfu and even Sanshoku there.
Although it's going to be incredibly difficult to compete with Simon. I mean, 2 Dora 3-mon already has the Chun. This is an incredible 2 Shanten.
And then to the right, we've got also less reasonable shapes, but you do have a Dora.
Wait, who's Tenpai?
It's across Steve on the left. He did manage to match the speed, does not declare Ricci because, well, it's not the greatest weight. And you would like to get Sanshoku as well. And it's very early. You're not expecting Simon to have this amazing of a hand. The 7 does come out. Thankfully for Simon, before the reach is declared.
Yeah, because I feel like if the Chun were to come out and Simon were to call the Chun, then Steve would have called Ricci to kind of contest it. We see the 7-mon. Steve thought about calling the Ricci, perhaps throwing out the 7-mon from hand to do it, but elects not to, stays Dama.
Oh, drawing the 6 feels a little bit sad, but... Oh, and then the 5! You can't do anything but just shake your head. And then another 7-pin comes out, and you're like, where did I go wrong? Okay, now you have Tenpai for the Sanshoku, but 2 7-pin are out, and do you want to go reach on this?
No, I think you stay Dama. Like, it's... Because if dealer calls Ricci...
You're in a rough position.
Yeah, especially not being able to see any Dora.
I think that might be a bigger indicator, is just not be able to see Dora.
And now we have the Shampon weight on Chun and Dora for Simon.
So I think Steve is ready to be out. Second, you draw something really bad. Or we might see Steve just absolutely fight it because the 7-pin is Genbutsu, but 9 safe so far.
Oh, now we have the Tsuji, although again, Tsuji on Dora, not the most reliable.
Wes, probably safe. There's the Chun. 1 more left of the wall. Oh, there's Dora. This is probably...
Oh wow!
Let's get pushed. Oh my.
It was Tsuji.
Yeah, trusted the Tsuji, and Dora Tsuji is just not...
And so we see another just absolute reversal there. Simon in first now, Steve taking last.
Max with another quick call of the Norse one is not Yakuhai. So will this one be Horitsu, Chanta, Hatsu only?
Hatsu?
Toy Toy? It could go a lot of ways, and that makes the call kind of attractive, actually, when you have so many ways to go with the hand. Sanshoku potential across the table for Oliver with the 1, 2, 3 shapes. Steve drew in the Anko of 8, so kind of wants to make Tanya probably. Yeah, chooses not to keep the 1, 2 Penchon. And now with the Hatsu call, Max is aiming for Honitsu.
Yes, although, yep, and there it is. Oh, not Senpai yet, actually. That was Max's pair. You often assume you will just be able to find a pair later, although these shapes that Max has aren't the best.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because having discarded one so and calling that, you might be trying to bluff Toy Toy, but you wouldn't drop one so if your aim is Toy Toys. So probably pretty clear to the rest of the table that this is actually a Honitsu.
Well, with 3 calls, there's no overflow yet, unless you count that east, which I typically would count as overflow, and with that 9 mon, I would think everyone else at the table expects Max to be Tenpai, although we do see the south come out of Steve's hand, which then Simon then dutifully calls.
Yeah, south had been once cut. With Max calling everything, it was kind of difficult to imagine that he had grabbed a pair of souths after that.
Well, Simon cutting the 8-9 Penchon as it was the worst shape in hand, and of course immediately draws the 17. We've seen that happen a couple times to people tonight. Now Steve has to make a choice on which shape. What would you discard from that hand? Would you also discard the 17?
I mean, I'm so afraid of the Monza right now. I wouldn't want to discard that. And now it's a 5-8 weight. Of course, only 3 of those tiles are left in the wall. And that is the shape near Dora, so kind of unlikely to see that come out.
Well, we also have a 5-8 weight for Simon. So either of those would be a double roam currently.
Absolutely. The last 5 is on the hand to the left, and probably unlikely to come out there. Just where are the 8s? 3 of them left. Oh, I didn't even notice across the table. That's Tenpai.
Sanshoku, 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku waiting on the 7 Montanki. You're absolutely correct. Gotta love Dora. Oh, there's no way this comes out, right?
No, you can't drop Dora against this Honitsu.
And you have to drop some Montile.
Oh my goodness. Well, that is a big surprise, and that's Mongon for Oliver. This actually trades places. Oliver in first.
This is, for a table that obviously these players are so good at dancing around each other, and that everything has been very tight here despite all of the massive deal-ins, because everybody's dealing in. Everybody's winning Mongons. Everyone's dealing into Mongons. And it's just like no one can get a real lead here because they can't help but give their first to someone else.
Yeah, it's so weird. I think there were a few reasons to keep the 6 mon or discard the 6 mon, but the Dora came out instead and didn't deal into the hand that you were expecting, right? That came to a Dama Sanshoku. And wow, so this is pretty huge. Max in third place is the dealer and has a Dora in hand, has Ishan 10. If you draw 3 pin, you've got Pinhu as well. Now can switch that Penchon for an inner Kanchan, which is standard efficiency play. And that 2 pin is actually called by Oliver. The aim here appears to be the 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku.
I'm always a little bit sketched out by the Sanshoku hands where you don't have any of the Sanshoku completed yet, and one of them is a Ryanman, because you can always draw the other side, which would be painful.
Yeah, but once you make the call, you draw the 4. Unless you're going to use it in another shape, you just throw it back and assume that you can call the 1 later. And as it is, the shapes were not amazing, so it seems it probably felt that the only way Oliver was going to get to Tenpai was to call for it. And Ricci for LPY with the Nakasuji trap on the 4-mon. That's clever.
Yeah, great. And it was an insta-Ricci, too. There was absolutely no hesitation for Yoshi there.
And it comes right
out immediately from Steve.
Well played by Max right there.
And now we have 3 players above 30K.
Yeah, that's actually... Steve is the player who's the only below, although not that far out. Amongon, and you're right below 30K. But yeah, something I wanted to point out for Max, you said insta discard, insta Ricci choice. When your blocks are set like that, one of the things you want to be doing is thinking about what you're going to do when you draw into Tenpai. If you draw the 357 Yankan, what are you going to declare for reach? If you draw the Sozu shape, what are you going to declare for reach? And that way, when you do end up getting the tile that you need, there's no hesitation. You're not giving away any information. You just instantly make your choice.
And that's an incredibly good note to make. I feel like I definitely can give away information, and you've talked before about using people's hesitation to often your benefit, although you can be tricked that way sometimes. We do have 2 calls at the table now, with Oliver on the right calling the tune, trying to make a quick hand, stay in first, keep the second place Yoshi from catching up to you, and then Simon on the left trying to overtake both Yoshi and Oliver has called the 2-3-4. Looks like probably going to get Tanyao, but might also get Sanshoku out of that as well. And now Steve calling the Haku as well.
The awkward thing at this table is the door is the south, and every player has a single south.
Oh my goodness, you're right.
At first. Might be Steve, although hanging on to it for now. The south definitely hits that hand the least.
You know what?
And maybe Simon's on the left, being Tanyao.
You know what I'd really love to see?
4 souths in a row?
I would love to see exhaustive draw with all 4 players waiting on the south. Although we won't get to see that. Simon has ditched it, and then Max ditches it, and then Oliver ditches it. Come on, Steve! I know the south's a safe tile now, and you're holding it so that you can discard it later, but it would have been so funny! Do it for the bit!
So Steve actually had Tenpai there and declined it in favor of hanging on to the south, and then every single south came out. It was actually hilarious to watch, but it is Simon who manages to pull in the Tsumo for, I believe that was just Tanyao only.
Yes.
And we get south 3, so now you're really worried about your score, and Oliver has the pair of Chun, can also Ishan 10 after 1 discard, so we'll probably take the 2-4 Kanchan over the 1-2 Penchan. As is standard. Has a really good chance for some value here. I say that, and then he calls the tune. 1,500 points seems to be the goal. 3... Oh, this isn't Tenpai yet.
Not quite.
Excuse me. If you had filled your other shapes and used the tune as your pair, then you'd be Tenpai. As it
now
is,
you
it's
have a pretty wide
Ishan. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how we're on the same wavelength. To the right, we've got Hatsu pair, and was that 2 away from Tenpai? Again, the question of you don't really want the dragons to end up being your pair, and you'd love to draw the 8 pin to incorporate the door 9 pin. And across the table, it's Simon who's actually hoping to draw 7 for the same reason. Has reasonable shapes outside of this. This is actually Shanten too.
So there's Tenpai now for Oliver.
4-7-mon weight. Again, just the 1,500 points here. Oh, there's a 7-mon that doesn't fit, so that deals right in. And Steve just getting hit further and further down, now down to 19,000 points, but still has a chance to recover and all last.
Now, having a dealership left is huge.
I'm just going to stay on Steve here because there's a pair of door tunes in hand. And the shapes are kind of interesting. You've got a chance at 1-2-3 Sanshoku. You can even think of Chanta. But with the door, you'd like to just make something fast. And so we'll see how that develops. Back to the dealer. Oliver with blocks, but they're kind of weak blocks. 1-1-2 Mon, 8-9-9 So. They're bulging, but they're penchants. So it's a little awkward. That might even be aiming for Chanta as well. across the table, we see the south call from Simon, and this is a couple tiles away from Tempai. Ishanten now with the 6-pin call. Just a south-only hand, as Oliver definitely aiming for the Chanta now. And then to the left, we've got chance at Ipeko, chance at Pinhu. You've got the door tune in your hand, and now with 2 players calling with kind of awkward shapes, you're kind of scared to drop it.
We see the hard push for Chanta now from Steve, because Steve would really like a Hanuman. This could be Sanshoku, Chanta, Dora 2, which would be a Mongon. We now have Tempai on the 2-so.
Oh,
and
no.
Simon just drew it, disconnected. So if Simon gets a Tempai, that'll deal in, surely.
Now. Simon had the 1-3 shape, discarded in favor of the 2-3 Yamen, and unfortunately got the backfire, which was the worst possible backfire. And now we move into South 4. Steve is no longer last place and actually has a chance at taking second here or even first.
A dealer Mongon is enough for first, no matter who you hit.
That's pretty incredible with only a 10,000 point gap. Yeah, dealer Mongon would be 12K.
Yeah, what an amazing push for value there, squeezing out the Chanta and the Sanshoku.
Yeah, really important to recognize your possibilities for value, that you don't need to call the tunes for Ayaku. There's alternate paths, and did find it. Ishanten now for what currently is Haku, but there's actually the potential to incorporate 2 of the Dora 5 Mon. And we see 2 of the Dora 5 Mon in the hand to the right. That's Simon, who's got a few pairs, but is probably looking to make Ricci here. Ricci Dora 2.
Here's Ishanten.
Not actually a very good start for Simon. And across the table, this is looking a little difficult. You have Ipeko chance. There is a world where you could turn this into Sanshoku too, but it's a bit of a challenge, and for that reason discards the 8 pawn instead, plays it straight, takes the Yanshanten. To the left, we've got Itsu chance, or, maybe just Ishanten. That works too. If you draw a Dora, though, you're definitely thinking about the Itsu.
Yeah, these hands are... Well, that 6-pin really... Well, what does everyone at the table want? Oliver just wants to end it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a huge Tempai for Steve now. 258 weight.
The perfect draw.
That's
Max.
Enough to get over 30K.
Yeah, Max is shifting around. This is Tempai for Chitoi. I'm trying to think, do I Ricci? Do I wait for a better weight? Which weight do I want? Chooses the 6-pin.
And this Ricci is interesting.
I mean, if you look at the table, there are 3 6-pin in the wall, so that's a really good read. I'm not sure what he used to make that decision, but it was the right one.
And the 18 was 1 chance, so that might have been why Steve pushed it. And now, the Sumo, you were right. They were on the wall. That was the read, and he gets it.
I would love to get an interview with Max and hear exactly why he made that decision. And I think that was enough to overtake first. Is Oliver grabs a second, Steve in third, and it is Simon in fourth. And so now we see actually in the standings, there start to be a gap in the demotion zone. Those players getting separated from the rest of the pack. It's about 54 points now, so it'll take a little bit of work for all of those players to get out. But again, we have 2 sessions to go, just as we discussed. Still plenty of time to do it. And maybe if Max ends up in the chat, can explain why the 6 was chosen instead of the 7.
Yeah, that was absolutely incredible. I mean, Max went from being in the first demotion spot, is now positive. Just made an absolutely huge leap up the standings in those 2 games.
But incredible for Max. What a pair of matches. And we, looked at the fact that Max had kind of gotten unlucky in the first half of the season with 2 first places there, just climbing the ranks. And we'll see if Max can make a push as we enter the final 2 sessions.
It should also be noted, a final note, we're going to head over to the currently ongoing B1 game here in a second. But before we do that, Since Eric won the Beta League season, Eric has the first spot at the league championship match that's going to happen at the end of the year. If Eric ends up first, it's going to be whoever is second in A1 who gets the second seat at that table. Since Steve lost a fair few points in those two Hanchan we just watched, that second spot is much more hotly contested now. Only 16 ahead of Jeremy, and even Oliver or Kenyon could make a play up just from what we can see.
Absolutely. You know, Kenyon was right up there, formerly second place before dropping down a bit, but now has a chance to really fight for that, as Steve took a bit of a dip as well. And so the next section is going to be extremely interesting to see who can make a play for that second slot. And then, of course, the final session to finalize that. I cannot wait to watch the A1 matches moving forward. But it looks like B1 is next on the agenda.
And we are going to be watching Kristaps, Daniel, Zilong, and Perry here.
It looks like we're in progress already. It is East 4, and the current dealer is Daniel. I recognize the name SJS. To the right, Big Hat, I also recognize that name as being Perry. Across the table is Kristaps. And to the left, that I'm guessing is Zilong. Yes, it is. Oh, it looks like Drew Adilan tile. Now, who's Tenpai? It's Kristaps across the table with the Sananko chance. 6 Mon, 6 Pin, Shabel.
That is confirmed Tanyao.
Confirmed Tanyao. So Richie Tanyao, potential Sananko.
Each.
Unfortunately, there's only one 6 pin left of the wall, and also unfortunately, there's a chase by Perry,
Which is
aiming for Richie Pinfu.
Oh, 3-pin, 6-pin, wait, draws the 3-pin.
Richie Patsumo Pinfu Dora. No, but that's a big Mongon.
So we come in just in time to see Perry steal first. This is another tight table, though.
Yeah, and this is actually kind of interesting. In the last match, the A1 match, we had two players who were pretty close to each other near the top, and two players who were close to each other near the demotion zone. That's not the case here, as at least as far as the standings appear. As we can see, those red lines are separated by at least 3 players for all of these. However, the points are probably a little bit closer than it initially appears.
And in the chat, we have a question of where's Perry. Perry is Big Hat, our current dealer, and in the standings, Perry is currently 12th, kind of at the top of the demotion zone. Not currently in demotion range, but very close point-wise to demotion zone.
Yeah, and Perry starting out.
It's a Phineas and Ferb joke. Might be.
Yes.
I'm gonna hide. Don't worry. I'm just gonna go over in a corner.
I have to say, I was not a big watcher of Phineas and Ferb, but I kind of had the inkling that that's where it was going. I was going to let you carry on, though, so I did not have the confidence to say otherwise. And it looks like Sancho a chance for the Big Hat. Although drawing the 3-pin is not exactly what you're looking for here. So each on 10 now, but just for Ricci only. To the right, we saw a call from Kristaps, who is aiming for what looks to be a Chanta or a Junchan or a Sanshoku. Still some flexibility. You have the Dora Hatsu, so you'd love to pair that up, but we can see that the pair is actually in the hand across the table. And this is a player, Zilong, who I've been wanting to watch for a long time. Some of the statistics for him have been really interesting. In particular, look at that call versus Ricci rate. It's about flip-flopped from the other players at the table.
Yeah, a 33.5% Ricci rate is absolutely bonkers.
Now, I suspect we won't see a Ricci if a Green Dragon were to come out. You'd like to call for your Mongon Tenpai, but if we did see that get passed up, that would explain a lot to me. As that statistic, as you said, is ridiculous. And here we go. Tenpai with a perfect draw. 2-5, so is the weight. Ricci for Mongon.
Yeah, well, Ricci Dora 2.
Yeah, Tsumo would be required for the guaranteed Mangan.
And you actually could have taken the
Gee.
Shanpon weight and gotten Mangan on a run of the Dorahatsu, although you don't expect that to come out at this point.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I also agree, it's unlikely to expect that will come out. And if you're drawing the Hatsu yourself, then you would have had the Mangan as well, and chance at Hanemon.
Tsumo.
Oh, there's the 2. So this works. Richi, Tsumo, Dora 2. There's an Uda that doesn't matter. And so that's another Mangan. We've walked into 2 of those now, and we're up to we've got a new player in first place. It seems like
Yeah,
whoever wins grabs first place.
Boom.
yeah, very very similar to the last few hands at the last table we were watching, where every win's a Mangan, every win changes place. And look at Perry's hand on the left here. Has already called the South, has 2 Wests, has 2 Hatsu.
Definitely appropriate to go there first, and we see
Oh, the Hatsu's Dora.
exactly. And I'm assuming we'll just call our way into Tempai. Oh, but speaking of Tempai, Kristaps with a fast one waiting on the 8 so does not declare Ricci just yet. Actually dropped the Dora on the first discard. Looking at the hand, it might not have fit that well.
Well, and no Yaku currently.
That's right. And
Oh,
well,
that's a better weight though. Oh, that's
Exactly
huge.
what
You
you're
can win on
waiting for.
2, 5, 8 Haku, a 4-sided weight.
and the Haku is once out as it is the door indicator. If players notice that, they might feel it's safer than it really is. Ooh, is this Ishan 10 on the right, though?
Oh.
No, Yan Shanten. And Tempai for Big Hat, who gets the Dora. That was safe to the dealer Ricci, but now
Sumo.
it's very
Oh,
scary and actually wins.
Another Mangan.
Big
Oh.
push for the Big Hat, and it
And
is
that's-
now 40,000 points.
That's so painful if you're Kristaps. You're in last place. You need a win desperately. You have a 4-sided weight, 2, 5, 8 so, and the Haku, which was once cut. You feel like there's no way you can lose, and then just out of nowhere on the left, you see the Dora call after your Ricci, and then the Sumo.
Definitely is a feels bad. I haven't seen anything that unlucky since watching Edwin play yesterday. And looking to the right, though, there's a pair of Souths. That is Dora and double Yakuhai. It looks like there's also one in the hand to the left. We'll see if that gets dropped from Kristaps, who dropped the Dora early last round. We'll see if that happens again this round. It doesn't look like it really fits in the hand here. Of course, dealer has a pair of Easts, can fight in terms of speed.
Daniel really thinking about calling this 8-peen. Elects not to. Almost like time might have run out there. Gets the
Boom.
South immediately. Okay, good. Daniel is there. The long wait on the 8-peen and then the hesitation before calling there. I was scared that maybe Daniel wasn't actually connected. Oh, now Tempai on 7-peen, 8-peen.
Boom.
Oh, it comes right out.
Come out!
Well, here we go. Another. Have we seen anything except Mangan so far?
No, we have seen only Mangans. Ever since we got to this table, Mangan only. And now we have 3 players above 30K, a new leader with Daniel, who's also the final dealer.
This is incredible. So, if Kristaps is going to come back, it's going to need to be more than Mangan. But with the way this has been going, we might see that. Let's look at the hands here. Daniel starts with an Anko of Dora. How about that? 2 tiles. Let me take a look at this again. The shape is a bit awkward to read, but yeah, 2 tiles away from Tempai.
No, this is Ishanten now.
Oh yeah, right. With the pickup of the 7, so that does work. Here we go. So Ricci, Champon, 8 mon 8 so. It is awkward because you're holding through the 8 so, and that's Dora, so unlikely to come out from the other players, but
It really feels like another one of the Sozu should be a winning tile. There's not, but it really feels like it should. Oh,
No.
and the Formon, right? The Ricci from Zilong, and then the Formon immediately comes out.
Mangan.
And it's
Ricci, Epots, Tanyao, Pifu. And that is the final exchange of first place. And it's in Zilong's favor.
First place was exchanged, I think, every round. Every single one was a Mongon. That one's brutal because it drops Daniel below 30K.
Yeah, that's a significant hit. And, well, Zlong's really confirming an improvement, promotion in this league, already in second place, behind Crow, who's had an excellent season. But my goodness, Daniel actually drops just outside of the range of promotion. So this is actually huge.
Yeah, that's. I mean, well, but there's nothing Daniel could have done about that.
Oh no. I mean, you've taken your Ricci. You have to discard everything that comes your way. And even if you Dama, hoping for a better weight, you draw the Formon. That doesn't fit your hand at all. So probably would have just thrown it anyway.
But as it is, and well, and that's so unfortunate for Kristaps too, just falling further into the demotion zone. And this is B1, so they're going to have a 6th session. So with 8 more Hanchan, there is nobody in B1 who is out of range.
No.
Everybody in B1 can get out of the demotion zone for sure.
Even at negative 143, there's still another game to be played right now, and there's still 8 more games after that. So that's plenty of time. You're definitely not in a good spot. You should rather be in, Perry's spot if you wanted to trade places with the next person up. But there's still chances. You still have to be thinking about that goal.
Well, and yeah, we've got these kind of big jumps. Perry would like to cut into the distance between himself and Sarah right now.
Yeah, cut into it a little bit in that last game, so moving in the right direction. And we've started game number 4. It is Kristaps and Dealer who gets the first dealership, wants to get off to a good start, and has an okay starting hand. That's not amazing. You have 2 Nyaman shapes in a pair, and you've got the Haku pair. That helps you call for a fast hand and a Dealer repeat. To the right, we've got the East pair, so that could also be very fast, and it's Daniel, who's got reasonable shapes outside of that. Does call the East instantly, and will be aiming to move the dealership along. Also has a Dora 2 Mon, so that has a little bit of extra value to it. But we'll probably see it. Oh, did not call that.
Didn't call Chi there.
I could have moved one tile closer to Tempai, but maybe didn't see the shapes the same way.
Well, perhaps hoping to pull in another 2 Mon, and if you call the Chi, it would be very difficult to use another one of the Dora, although I still think I would have taken the advancement towards Tempai.
Yeah, and it looks like, there is opportunity to do exactly that. If you draw a second Dora, that will be your pair. And so now taking Headless Ishan 10, where that can accept the Dora as your final weight, seems to be working out reasonably well. We did see the Haku called by Kristaps, who is Ishan 10. Across the table, we've got the Chun pair that hasn't come. Oh, it did come out, and perhaps the Chun was paired up after the first one. Tempai for Daniel on the 2-5 pin.
Oh, this is Chitoy.
Oh, chooses the interesting weight. Twice quite west.
It's the Hell Weight West.
Shikoku Tanki. Yeah, well, if someone draws it, it will come out. That's a guarantee.
Sure. There's no way you don't drop the West.
Oh, but the final deal in. Unfortunately, it's the cheap 2,000 points, so not as expensive. And you won enough points in the last game to afford a small hit.
Oh, yeah, you've got points to spare.
It's only East when we've got time. As it is, we move to East 2. It's Daniel who, with a win, grabs the dealership. I just heard you oohing. What is it?
Look at Kristaps' hand. 1-2 Mon, 1-1 Peen, 1-1-2-3 So, 7-8-9 So. That hand is gorgeous.
There's a chance for some massive value. With perfect draws, you could get Junchan. You could get Sanshoku with Adora. There's a lot of options here.
I could have a pair of 9 Mon as well, but had ditched the 9 Mon early. Was maybe thinking Chiditsu.
Yeah, you know what? If you're really thinking about Junchan there, the 5 pin probably comes out before the 9 Mon. And that little bit of, delay in aiming for the Chanta / Junchan hand ends up costing you a potential pair. But that It's not anything that can't be recovered. Still with a decent chance at building this hand. And
Well,
dealer also now starting to look really good for Toy Toy. Has
or
the Haku pair. If
or
you draw it
Ishan 10 for
yourself,
Chitoy.
yeah. I mean, Chichoy is another way I wanted to make it work. And that's an interesting decision. Do you take your Ishan 10, or if one of the tiles comes out, which ones are you willing to call for Toy Toy?
Oh well, it just got a lot harder. Although the two mon isn't horrible, but we have on the right just a single weight on the two pin. That's Ricci only, although it would be Ricci Dora 1 since the two pin
Yes.
is Dora. And then across the table, that's on the 1 mon 4 mon weight, and that is Ricci Pinfu. Tanyao on the 4 mon.
Very good. It is always so difficult
wait.
when
Oh, okay. I was like, is that Tempai on the on the left, but not quite. Kristaps, yeah, has these honors to toss away though.
yeah. It's always so difficult when all the action happens at once. Ricci, Ishan 10, something along those lines. Looks like Daniel is playing safe against two Riccis. Draws another Dora, and you can work your way towards a Tanyao Tempai here. And the 4 is Tsumo by Perry. That is Takame. So Ricci, Pinfu, Tanyao, Tsumo, no Ura to make it Mangan, but you take that 5,200 plus the extra Ricci stick and snatch first place. So these haven't been Mangan hands, but we're still exchanging position.
Yeah, and just for those, since it is a slightly less used term, when you have two sides of a weight that do not have the same value on wins, so like in that case, if Perry had one on the 1 mon, it would have been slightly cheaper. The more expensive side of the weight is called the Takame. The least expensive side of the weight is called the Yasume.
Indeed, and we'll take advantage of this freeze to go over the hands a little bit. It looks like DeLong's our dealer has kind of awkward shapes, maybe outside chance at 789 Sanshoku. Outside of that, you're just hoping to draw a little bit better. I didn't get the chance to look at the other ones, but we're going to refresh really quickly. It looks like the south hand has Tanyao shapes and a Dora 7 mon. Could even make Pinfu potentially there as well. Across the table, it is Kristaps who's got good Pinfu shapes. We could also make Tanyao and can incorporate the Dora 7 mon as well. And to the left, we've got Daniel who has excellent Pinfu shapes. This is Ishan 10 already. Depending on what you draw, you could even switch it to the Peiko or a Tanyao.
Aww, abandoned the Apeco chance.
Yeah, that also sort of abandons Tanyao chance temporarily, although
Zilong, drawing the 5 mon, can now discard well, you have to make a choice. Do you discard the 2 pin and 3 pin to maximize your chances at value? No. Discards the 9 so, the 8-9 so, the least efficient shape in hand. You had a hand that could go for either Sanshoku or Itsu.
Oh, and this is kind of awkward. You've drawn the second Dora, but you might end up using that as your pair. And we'll see the decision right here.
Yeah, I feel like you have to discard the 8 mon. Or the 9
plays
mon.
it straight. Okay, so you can still make Itsu here. That's a route to Mangan. And you're headless right now, so really, it's a very wide Ishanten. You can draw almost anything for your pair. 1, 2, 4, 5 mon or 7, 9. And then you could also complete a sequence, drawing the 8 pin or the 3, 6 mon, and then have a Tanki weight.
Yeah, this is so wide. Oh, although we have Tempai now on the right for Perry, waiting on the 2-5-8 mon.
Yeah, speaking about wide weights, I was drawn by Daniel. Chooses to drop the 9 so pair instead. Has the opportunity to switch this to Tanyao now. Have a pretty wide Ishanten there. Across the table, Kristaps called for Tanyao. Still needs one more draw here.
Yeah, if Daniel's hand improves, that's gonna be really hard not to deal in. Oh wait, hold on. We got 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6. Might be able to discard away from the so shape instead of discarding a more dangerous mon tile.
Yeah, there's an extra tile in the so shape there. Because you can use the 8 mon as your pair. So long switching to the Nobetan weight, 1, 4. Still can pair up a bunch of tiles.
And Kristaps waiting on the 3 mon, 6 mon.
Okay, so because the 7-9 was discarded, pairing up the 2 doesn't actually give you Tempai. this does. It's an awkward one, but it'd be a shampoo weight on a 50-10 shampoo weight. Chooses not to declare Ricci on that. Oh, we're kind of running out of options for Daniel. The 2 finally comes out and deals in. Just Tanya Dora 1, but Perry will grab the 2000.
Everyone at the table was Tenpai there.
Yeah, pushing for smaller hands, but still making a play for it. Perry starts with a pair of north, a pair of south. None of those are Yakuhai, but you've got 2 more pairs besides that, so you might be thinking about 7 pairs. You might just be thinking about dropping one of them and building a normal hand. We'll wait and see what happens. To the right, we've got, well, these are some better pairs. Pair of Haku, pair of Hatsu, and you are actually Yanshan 10 here. Across the table, we've got kind of standard shapes here. The Pinzu shape is awkward. 2, 4, 6, 8. Drops the 2 for now and has a chance at Itsu in the Manzu as we see the Haku cult to the right. Now Ishan 10. To the left, it is chance at Itsu in the Sozu. However, you have a pair of Dora. That's Yakuhai. If the north comes out, I imagine we'll see a call. But, the last time we were in this position with Zolong, he just drew Tenpai himself. And Sumo for Bonkan. So we'll see if that happens here too.
And now we have the 3-peen, 5-peen Tenpai for Kristaps on the right.
Ooh, there's an interesting chance you could have switched that to 2-5 weight or the 3-6 weight. Instead, chose the Shampoo. If there was Toitu here, I'd like that. I guess if you Sumo, you get a little bit extra Fu. Make it.
Boom.
It comes out.
No, you just knew the 5-peen was coming.
Right.
You were being patient.
Yeah, so long they're pushing for the Honitsu on top of everything else. Would have been a monster hand, but ends up dealing into the fairly cheap 2000, and we go again, or we move on to Kristaps' dealership, and it is fairly reasonable shapes here. The 9 so is a bit weak in the hand, but that is the Dora, so maybe there's incentive to drop, this third north that you ended up drawing instead of the Dora tile. To the right, we have looks like reasonable shapes as well. Chance for Pingfu. You want to be able to draw the 8, so use. Oh, there it is. You can use the Dora now. Across the table, we've got another Pingfu type hand with some Kanchans to fill in. Just like the last one, I commented on the hand, and they draw the 8 so that's perfect. And Perry's looking more like pairs, maybe, or 2, 3, 4 Sanshoku with the Peiko might be another route. Actually, only Yan Shantan for that, so pretty close.
Oh, the one. So I feel like we've seen a lot of hands that could go Itsu, and just like really didn't know whether to commit to the Itsu or not. We've seen people go for it. We've seen people hold off. Oh, now we see a 7 so, which is kind of a backfire for Daniel on the right. But how important of a Yaku do you see Itsu as?
I think it's a great way to add value. The awkward thing for Zolong here is you've got a Yankan in the Pinzu and the Sos. You kind of have to pick which one you want. If you draw, say you pick the one in the Itsu suit, which I think is probably the standard play. If you draw into the 2 so, then you're Tenpai, and you might not end up taking it. But we see it reach on the right, 1-4 so.
Ricci Pinfu Dora.
Would love to see an Uda if the hand gets completed. See so many of the winning tiles in hands. Oh, there's the last one. That's incredible.
I mean, could see a con, which I don't really expect. Yeah, Perry's been discarding safe tiles.
It looks kind of safe because you have all of the 4s in hand. The 2 so, not the 1 so because the one's on the 1-4, but the 2 so actually looks reasonably safe here.
I mean, it is Suji as well.
Yeah, although Suji doesn't apply because you have all the 4s.
Right, so it couldn't be a weight there anyway. Suji and Kabe kind of tell you the same thing. There are some situations where you get different information, but
Yeah, if we saw another Tuso discarded, then we might see the Tuso come out. But found the safe route to Yukoku. Daniel just gets the 3,000 points, 1,000 from each player, minus the Ricci stick, and we'll move on.
A note there, actually, to hold back just for a second. The reason that con was called, because Perry was not in a place to get Tenpai on the draw, I'm pretty sure. That con was just to keep Daniel from getting another draw. So
that's I'm glad you pointed that out, because I think it did shift the last draw to Kristaps, which is really significant. I remember we were watching a couple games, in fact, where that showed up, and in multiple scenarios that ended up being super critical.
Yeah, for people who play Sanma, if you play a lot of 3-player, that's something you see a lot more in Sanma than you do in 4-player, just because the Kita gives you it's so much easier to play Kita and to take those tiles out of the wall and push them into the dead wall to shift who gets the last tile. So especially in like higher level 3-player rooms, you see wall manipulation a ton.
Interesting. Well, I will gladly learn more about Sanma from you, Tucker. I definitely don't play that as frequently as I'm sure other players do.
God, this is an incredible Ishanten for Daniel, isn't it?
I'm loving this. Tanya, you've got a Dora. There's a world where you could even turn it into Sanshoku. 2, 3, 4. Oh, do you call for Tenpai? It feels like it cheapens the hand maybe more than you want it to, but you also see 2 calls to the left, and you don't really want to lose out on this hand.
And then we had Tenpai on the right, but the Ricci tiles, the 5-pin, could have called Ricci on the 9-pin, actually, but was setting up a Suji trap on the 8-pin, but elected to take the Suji trap, to toss the 5-pin, waiting on the 8-pin, and that deals in. The 9-pin would have actually been safe.
And that just shows why the call was good there, I guess. You take your Tenpai, you take your win, you don't need to fight or risk not being able to win that hand. You get to go get his dealer, and this dealer hand also has a chance at 2, 3, 4 Sanshoku, but outside of that, you're looking to just build better blocks. To the right, we've got, well, that's an Anko 3-pin and some Tanya type tiles, except for the fact that you've got the Hatsu pair. So it looks cheap for now, but we'll see if we can turn this into a toy. Across the table, we've got kind of average shapes, a lot of Kanchan shapes that we'd like to improve. Oh my.
Open con! An open con on the 7-so, revealing the 6-mon as Dora. This hand is not especially close to Tenpai. You do have a Kikaku.
Yeah, that's really rare to see, but Kristaps does not care. We might have a chance at Toy, but if not, we'll take Haku, Dora. There's the Dora part of it. We just need the Haku. And that's sitting in Perry's hand. Does not fit the hand either.
There's Tenpai. 5-pin, 1-mon.
1-mon seems reasonably good here. 2 left in the wall.
And 1 5-pin left in the wall, in fact.
Yeah, we see Daniel's actually. Ishanten has a really wide weight for Tanya and has a Dora in hand. Would love to get Ricci too. Instead, calls for Tenpai.
And that call to Tenpai was on a tile that was exiting Tenpai for Kristaps. Kristaps' absolute greed pulled in a second Dora and holds it. Is going to try for the toy with the Dora here.
Oh my, that is greedy. I'm trying to think if there's an opportunity to call that 6-mon. There was, but then you'd be waiting on an awkward wait. Finds the Sumo anyway.
So just Tanya Dora 1 for Daniel there.
Yeah, benefits from the con revealing the 6-mon to be Dora. And we go again. It is Daniel who's picked up 2 fast 2,900 point hands. The second one also gets the benefit of the 300 points of Honba. And this hand, chance at 789 Sanshoku, but outside of that, you're really just trying to do normal progression. To the right, we've got Hatsu pair again, and a Dora this time, so maybe a quick call for 2000. Across the table, it is 678 Sanshoku potential, also Ipeco chance. Well, forget the Ipeco chance. We're going to drop that in favor of this Dora tile. Hope to pair it up. Also, West is your Yakuhai, so you could call that.
Boom.
Maybe end up on Dora Tanki. To the left, another aggressive call from Kristaps, who might be ending up with another Toy Toy.
It could even become Honitsu, but I think Toy Toy is much more likely.
Yeah, with that early 8 discard and then following that up with a 6, it looks like the aim here is Toy Toy. Oh, another Dora drawn on the right. This could be a pretty valuable hand now.
No Hatsu in anybody else's hand.
Yeah, now with 4 pairs, I wonder if we'll even see a call. I would, but I don't. Oh my.
One Montan!
If you're going for Toy Toy there, I think I kind of like hanging on to that 6, so because that was revealed to be Dora before you had to discard it.
Right, and that is a rule in the tournament that on Open Con you immediately get to see the Dora, so in Ladder you would not normally get that chance.
You see Ishanten for Daniel for Pinshu with the new Dora 6 so in hand.
And Perry is Ishanten as well for the Sanshoku. Oh, but doesn't draw the Sanshoku tile. But still takes the Riichi waiting on the 7-mon. Does not want to give up the chance for 2 Ura.
Yeah, interesting. We saw Hatsu come out of Zilong's hand. Still has the Dora pair, of course, which is an indication that they were aiming to make Riichi there. And oh, there's another Dora drawn, and now you can't use it. 6 so came into the hand on the left. Where are the 7-mon? Looks like 2 in the wall.
Yes. One in Zilong's hand, 1 in Daniel's discards. Still 14 more tiles to draw here.
It's going to be hard for Kristaps to make Tempai just from what we can see, the tiles we can see in other players' hands.
I don't know. The 6-0 really doesn't seem like that bad of a discard, honestly.
It is Nakatsuji.
Sozu have been discarded just kind of everywhere. There's Tempai for Zilong. This would be, well, I guess you have a couple different options. I believe it'd be Champon waiting on the 1. Wait, this is like a huge Champon.
Yeah, 5-8-1. 5-8-mon and the 1, which is Genbutsu to the dealer also. Oh, you drew the worst tile. That's unbelievable.
But you can still switch this up. If you discard an 8-mon. Oh, no. Traded it out. Dealt in. Is there any Ura?
There is one. Ooh, that's a little bit painful.
And that's a new first place. That was enough for Perry to overtake Daniel. Perry is now in first, but only by 900 points.
Okay, so Perry aimed to catch up.
Ironically, was all from the Homba. Without the Homba, Perry and Daniel would be tied for first right now. But because there was 900 points in Homba.
Well, let's see here. It's along with a chance to make up some of those points. Really needs to from this position, although honestly in the overall standings you're pretty okay. You can afford to take a 4th place here, but of course you'd like to make up for it right here, right now. And this hand wants to do something in the Sozu, but you just are struggling a little bit. You can accept a Dora, and you've got some awkward shapes elsewhere. Another 5 So's good start. And to the right, we've got a completed shape of that 5-pin draw, and this is yes, it is Ishanten for Pinshu, Dora 1. Across the table, we've got Tanyao type shapes, maybe Itsu or Ipeco and the Pinshu with perfect draws. It's just hard to see that completing really easily. And you'd like to use the Dora 2 so if possible. To the left, we've got 2 pairs and kind of awkward shapes. Maybe a chance at 6-7-8 Sanshok if you're aiming for value, but in second place, you kind of just want to win something fast.
Perfect Ishanten now for Perry, which you want that efficiency. Perry wants to be able to call. Well, do you call Riichi? Okay, if you're Perry and you get to Tempai, do you call Riichi?
Well, we'll see right now. It does just immediately hit the button.
I don't think I would have. Oh well, it's South 3. It's not all last, so it's
Yeah.
not a huge deal. That's true.
I-
I was thinking it was all last, but it's not.
I think that's probably the deciding factor here, especially because when we go to all last, you will be the last dealer. You want to have a little bit of breathing room in case someone gets a sumo. You're going to pay a bigger penalty. And so declare Ricci, Pin Fedora, you hit Ura, you hit somebody else. You have a chance to make Mongon.
Yeah, the reason why I was why I was hesitant if it had been a last hand is just because if everybody ends up, or not if everybody, if Daniel ends up Tenpai and it is all last and dealer is not Tenpai, then of course you would end up not in first because your Ricci stick is just gone into the wind.
Right. And another thing that could happen is, Daniel declares Ricci, and now you can't play defensively. You can't switch out a 9-so for a 6-so or anything like that. You might just deal indirectly. But I definitely think that's something worth considering, for sure.
Oh, are we going to see a call here? Yes.
All right, so we find Tenpai.
4-mon, 5-mon. More
Awkward
aggressive
shapes. Kristaps really wants to make it over 30,000, and even just Tanya only would do it with the Ricci stick out. Oh, can you drop Dora? Well, you dropped the 4 and the 3, but not willing to drop Dora.
Yeah, you can't. It was one chance, but on like the last couple discards, one chance doesn't really mean anything.
Kristaps will do a lot of things, but he won't do that. And it is Big Hat Perry, who's our final dealer, with a small lead, 3,900 points on Daniel. And this starting hand can incorporate the Dora, has reasonable shapes. 4-so isn't a bad pickup either. So you're 2 tiles away from Tenpai, though, right? Currently a Shampoo weight. To the right, we've got, these shapes look really nice for Pinfu. Fortunately, there's not a lot of value here. Now that you've paired the tune, we'll scratch the Pinfu thoughts. Across the table, these shapes, do they look even better? I'm not sure. It does have 2 of the Dora, so that's actually got a lot of value there. With that 6-pin draw, this is Ishan 10. The best draw, of course, being the 3-so that you can get Pinfu. Oh, and now you have Tanyao and Sanshoku potential. This is a massive hand that Daniel's building right here.
Yeah, and I want to make a small note about Kristaps' hand. Oh, but there's Tenpai for Daniel.
This is Dama Mongon. Wait, Hanemon, Tanyao, Sanshoku, Dora. No, just Mongon for now. It wasn't the Pinfu.
And the small note I want to make about Kristaps' hand, because there's 1,300 points in the middle.
Sumo.
But the sumo!
It is the Hanemon. What an incredible hand from Daniel.
What a way to go.
That's the Hanemon we've been waiting for. We've seen a lot of Mongon hands, but I think that's our first Hanemon. And 50,000 points is the finish for Daniel, plus 35.5. Look at this. It moves him all the way up to 5th position in the leaderboards. With plus 57 now, so took a bit of a hit in the last game, but definitely made up for it. And Kristaps with the -10 didn't quite get the chance to make it over 30K. Took the 4th, but still in very good position moving into session 5.
Yeah, and really, like, if you're Perry, you're a little disappointed because if you get a plus 30 there, a plus 25, a plus 30, you feel a lot more comfortable going into session 5, having a little bit of distance. But only getting plus 10, you're at the front of everybody fighting for demotion, but you're still in that demotion zone, really. Like, you're right next to it.
I mean, also the fact that was a sumo, you ate 6,000 points that you wouldn't have had to otherwise. And so it could have been a plus 16. It could have been a plus, you see, extra 10 points. It could have been a plus 26 for Perry. So just unlucky there. And we see the standings blooming into our screen here a little bit bigger so that we can see a little more clearly. And Stanley is the cutoff. I feel like has been hovering right around that 20-point range for a while now. Albert played yesterday and is in range to grab a spot as well. There's a bit of a gap following that 9th place as we see John and Sarah right around plus minus 0. And well, they can certainly make a push in these final 2 sessions to grab one of the 8 promotion spots in B1.
And with, let's see, with 20 people in this pool, the snake the snake is going to work a little bit differently. The snake being the positional, God, what's it? Session 6. Session
Yeah.
6, where you're playing everyone based on your position. It's going to work a little bit differently than A1, but it's the same idea where people at the top are going to be competing with people at the top. People at the bottom are going to be competing with people at the bottom. And it's going to be the top. Whereas we were saying the top is not going to be quite as exciting in A1 because there's only one top spot to take. It's going to be the exact opposite in B1. I mean, there's going to be people in the very bottom matches who are fighting for promotion spots with so many available.
Yeah, with so many available, the cutoff for that promotion is a lot lower than what it's probably going to be in any of the other divisions. And so that means that really anybody has a chance, especially if you are near plus minus 0 or a small negative position. I mean, goodness, just recalling what happened at the end of the inaugural Beta League, there were some very swingy final sessions as players made that push, and a lot of them jumped over other players to grab those slots, even from moving from the negatives to the positives. I do remember that happening at least once, and so we could even see Perry making a push with the Session 5 games and then Session 6 games, or really anybody who is in the negatives. If you have a good Session 5, you can put yourself in position to make it with a good Session 6.
Oh, yes, definitely. And I mean, this is where it's going to really start getting exciting. And as a reminder, though, the reason there are 8 promotion slots in B1, there are so many promotion slots, is because A2 is increasing in size. Currently, the A2 league or the A2 division is 16. There are 16 players in it this season. Next season, there's going to be 20 people in A2. So 4 people are demoting out of A2. 4 people are demoting from A1 to A2. So that leaves 8 spots to get up to the necessary, what's it called? 20. That's what it was called. That's the number I was looking for. So 8 people are going to have to promote from B1 into A2 to make that expansion happen. That's why everything looks so sort of whack. And the fact that there are 2 sit-ins filling in for people who are taking hiatuses this season, that's making B1 just kind of especially wonky. This is not going to be a normal situation, I presume, in the future.
Yes, unless we get a massive set of influx of new signups for the Summer League, which will be starting. I think registration is open until June 20th.
Yep.
We probably will see more of a standard sort of league setup for the summer pool, which will be interesting to see how that shakes up, because the very first season was just the big beta league. It was just a big mess of players, and this season has been also a bit of a mix-up. We have a beta league in the B2 division, and also B1's kind of working itself out with extra promotions. But the next season will probably be more of a standard one. Although if anybody is interested in signing up for that summer session, you can do so on the website, americanreachy.org. There should be a button there you can hit. Registration, of course, is still open for that.
Also, make sure to check out to follow the Twitch streams if you enjoy the things that we do here. If you like seeing some mahjong commentated, discussed, shouted about quite often, at least when I'm on stream. Check out our YouTube to look at old videos, a very good resource if you're just studying the game some and you want to learn perhaps more Japanese terms, if you want to see very good people play, if you want to see people on your level play. We have all levels here. So if you go to tinyurl.com/ARMLYT, that will take you to the YouTube. The link is in the Twitch chat and running along the bottom here. And be sure to follow us on Twitter as well, where you will see all of our broadcasts announced. You will see updates about upcoming seasons. If we do special things that aren't commentary, which we've floated the idea of a couple different options, hopefully we'll have one or two of those up for you soon. But any final thoughts tonight, Nathaniel?
Well, just that I'm really excited to see what's going to happen next week. I know we don't quite have our next broadcast scheduled. It could be as early as tomorrow or as late as next week. But I would advise everyone watching to keep an eye out for that, especially next week. I'm hoping that we'll be able to watch a lot of the exciting B2 matches, as week 5 or session 5 is the last session for a lot of the players in B2. So everyone's going to be battling for final position for their promotion or for their playoff spots or just to avoid demotion. I'm expecting to see some really exciting Mahjong starting next week. And so keep an eye out. We will hopefully be broadcasting a lot of those matches very soon.
We will certainly be trying to, and we should also shoot out a thanks to Scott. Scott was once again our very wonderful broadcast director, making this possible, making everything run very smooth. So everyone, make sure you think Scott. Think about Scott however much you want, but definitely make sure to thank Scott for the hard work he has put in to make this broadcast possible. We could not do these streams without broadcast directors, and thank all of you for watching and joining in. It is a lot more fun when the chat is lively, especially when they're pointing out the absurd wrong things that we sometimes say. I hope everyone has an absolutely wonderful night. Thank you for commentating with me, Nathaniel. Thanks, Scott, for broadcasting, and thank you all for watching. And that will be all tonight, and goodbye, and have a good one from the American Ricci Mahjong League.